Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by Jack Valero from Catholic Voices. Thank you so much for joining us here on Impact. A success then,
yes.
A hugely significant trip to Asia.
Wonderful, wonderful, and what an ending with the biggest mass, Catholic mass ever. The record had been set by John Paul II 20 years earlier in the same place with 5 million people. Now there were 7 million people, it was raining all the time, but it didn't deter people from coming to see the Pope who had come from so far away to be with them. And I think being with them was one of the themes of the visit. You know, you've been suffering. Actually, he wanted to go to the Philippines, to go to Tacloban, where the typhoon was, and to be with the victims. That was the main reason the trip happened in the first place. So being with people so far, and people who have suffered, who have had family members die or lost their homes, he wanted to be with them.
It was really the message of inequality that resonated with the people there.
Yes, yes, he talked a lot about poverty. I mean, right at the beginning of the trip, he said, the gospel talks about the poor all the time. If you take the poor out of the gospel disappears. The gospel is about responding to the poor, helping the poor, and Christianity is about this. So inequality is not acceptable. And he talked also about corruption, fighting corruption, because you know wherever there is inequality, there's always corruption, and that's not the way to tackle it. But obviously, he himself lives this very sober, poor life, and he's an example, and that's why people listen. He goes to a country such as the Philippines, where so many people live on 60 cents a day, and his message is heard because he's leading from the front. So that's a very important thing. Helping the poor. The church is there to help the poor, and here I am, and I'm going to help you.
And you said one of the major reasons, and one of the reasons he wanted to go to the Philippines, was to go and visit Tacloban, and
yes.
That was quite a significant tour, wasn't it?
What a moving mass. He was told, in fact, he was told the day before, look, there's going to be another typhoon on the day you have chosen to go there, so you better cancel that aspect. And he said, no, I've come from Rome. My main purpose is to go and see those people, so I'm not going to cancel that part of the trip. So he went anyway. He had to cut it short by a few hours because it would be unrealistic to come back during the typhoon. But he was there. He celebrated the mass with a poncho, everybody in the rain. You know, it was very, very scenic.
I mean, it's these gestures. It's wearing the poncho. It's walking the streets. It's you know, embracing street children.
Street children. That was another meeting. You know, meeting with street children who'd come out of prostitution and drugs, and listening to their stories in tears. And the cardinal was saying, you know, the Pope was listening, and he was in tears, and he was suffering with them, and he wasn't giving them any answers. He was saying, look, I just want to be here listening to you and suffering with you. And then the next day there was this meeting where two young people, you know, said they'd lost all their family members, and a girl asked, you know, why do children suffer? And the Pope was so moved, he said, look, this girl has asked the most important question here, and we don't have the answer. But we have to cry together before we can understand the answer. And it's just that nearness and the understanding of people, you know, that really gets his message across.
And it's been trending on social media, hashtag Pope in PH, and even today, hashtag We Love Pope Francis is all over social media.
It was very funny, one of the services, because he started off his homily saying, quoting from the Gospel of St. John, Jesus saying to Peter, do you love me? And the people thought he was asking them, do you love me? And they said, yes! And he said, oh, thank you. But I didn't mean that. But I mean, obviously, they had a survey before he arrived. Are you indifferent to the trip, or negative, or positive, or excited, or very excited? And more than 80% were very excited. You know, these are people who feel we live very far. Nobody listens to us, cares about us. The Pope cares about us. He comes all the way to be with us who are suffering, and he's with us, he understands us. So that's why they love him.
Jack Valero from Catholic Voices, thank you so much for coming on the show.